Hey, everybody, welcome to the Brand Blueprint. And it's your girl, Sherry Summers Bell, on, who needs no introduction. Sherry, my sister, my great friend. Welcome to the Brand Blueprint.
Thank you for having me, and I'm glad you got my last name right. Thank you to my
Yes,
husband.
yes, yes. And uh, as we're kind of rocking through this, we've been kind of talking, just checking out your camera and looking up at it, so we can to, uh, to just look at your camera lens. Is what I'm saying. Yeah, there we go, right there. And so as we have been talking for at least 30 minutes before this podcast started catching up and everything, I'm so excited because when I met you in Dallas, I was like, wow, this lady is so powerful and captivating, and your story is very interesting. And it's my story similar, but
Yeah.
your story is so good. So I just want to go back. I know you told it 1,000 times. I know I always ask you, but it is so good. So, how did you even get into life insurance in the first place?
Yeah, sure. So I got in life insurance because I wanted to be able to get my time back. I was a former cop for 10 years, and in that space working in the sheriff office, I was a corporal, but I needed to get my time back because I had a son, my son Dylan, who at the time was, I think he's in like second grade. And as a in the sheriff office, what I was in charge of is what we call community programs within the corrections within the jail. So I decided that I was going to teach ex-offenders how to start their businesses when they're released from jail. And in doing so, I was helping them with the recidivism rate, means that we're going to keep the count low of how people return back to jail. And I did that by teaching them how to start businesses, as in wholesaling properties, as in doing lawn service, or anything that can, like, with their hands. That's what I was dealing with when I did. And that kind of sparked something, event we had called Get Her Done program. And that Get Her Done program helped us to go to the White House. And at that time, President Barack Obama, we had an invitation to go to the White House to talk more about that program. So it was really, really good. And we also helped them with their GED. So in doing that, I one day asked my sergeant, says, "Hey, is it okay if I can change my time at work?" And the reason why we needed to change my time at work is because during that hype of that Get Her Done program,
Hmm.
I myself was going through a divorce. I was going from a one income household from a two income household to a one income household. So I needed to leave my job at 5:30 because daycare closed at 6. And he told me no. He told me, "No, I
Mm.
cannot leave." Even though with all the stuff, even with all the accolades, even with all the credentials, he told me he could not. And that struck a chord with me because a week later, here I am getting a call from my school that my son is unresponsive, not breathing, and I need to come to the school. So that was a
Mm.
wake up call for me. And at the school, when paramedics is asking him, "Who's your mom?" and talking to him and trying to revive his little body, I'm there like, "God, this is my sign to leave." And I took FMLA leave and I never went back to work. But I would, most of the time when I tell the story, people are like, "Oh, you never back to work. That's the hero story." No, 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 because I left and I didn't have any money. I think $7,000 from with the sheriff office, but I was already behind on my car payment, my mortgage, and all that stuff. So being so behind on the car payment, I remember they were coming to get my car on the 15th. My credit score
Mm.
went down to 430, and my family members are talking about me like, "Why would she leave her $42,000 job, her secure job, and all this stuff?" And it would just, I was really feeling like my pride was shattered, my ego was shattered, everything, because I know I had to stay home for my son because of him being able to have sick. He has asthma, ADHD, he has a hole in his heart. So as a mom, I needed to be there for my son. So I needed to figure out a business model that allowed me to be there for my son, but still make money to provide for my family. So my son and I, we move into a 600 square footage apartment so we can, recover all the debt that we were in. And as I was going through my own tragedy, I started going live and sharing my story of how I was in debt. And I was using my iPhone 6, just sharing my story. And I was using something called an IUL, an Index Universal Life that we had prior to
Mm.
that. And I used the IUL, I liquidated that, took the money from that, and started paying off my debt. I started paying off those debt that I had. And yeah, and I had mass mutual funds, and I was using those debts, and I would start paying that off. And so I started sharing with people how you can take these vehicles, these wealth vehicles, to help you pay off and create. And with that being said, I created a community because I was building my credibility. I created a community, and that's where my business started taking off from there. From the tragedy of what happened to me, I discovered that there was more women like me that was in the position. So I went and got my license, and I just started helping financial professional build their credibility, teaching them how to mass enroll their clients. The sad story turned into something triumph.
Yes, yes, yes. And every time I hear that story, it reminds me because I thought my story was difficult, but the journey that you had, separating, having some things going on with your child, as well as financially shifting and moving from a job, like all of these things at the same time, and then having to move. So there's just a lot of things that were just
Yeah,
separating all at the same time, and it just reminds me because it's like the story is like, okay, how does the insurance part play into the journey? And it's always that gap that it bridged for you, which was the IUL, so that you can kind of, I'm assuming that it helped you get from A to B just to kind of have some income coming in that capacity, which I'll let you dive into. But I'm just thinking about my own story, which was in 2015, my mom, she ended up having a heart attack, had to have a triple
wow.
bypass. 7 days later, while I'm in Mexico, she had an aneurysm, and then she
Ooh,
also had ovarian cancer. And what most people don't know about insurance is at a certain point, you can max out your insurance. And I know that sounds crazy, but there was a certain point that her coverage went from them paying 100% to only paying 80% of it to them paying
yeah,
60%. And that may sound like, oh, that's not that big of a deal, but we're talking about $2,000 to $3,000 per day that she needs to stay in the hospital because her whole left side was paralyzed and she had like outstayed all these contingencies. And if it wasn't for having these policies in place, my mom wouldn't be here because they were trying to make me take her home. And so I'm thinking like, okay, I've got to do something. I'm looking through all of this stuff because she's past the 31-day limit. And I was like
wow.
20%. I'm like, okay, I can pay that. Then it's like
Mm,
40%. It's like, okay, at 60 days, at 90 days, it's a 100%. And I'm like, well, she can't walk. So
wow.
I'm like, I've got to do something. So obviously I got resourceful. And that's when I started looking through all these policies. I'm like, oh, I can get some cash out of here. And if it wasn't for those policies and that lump sums, like my mom wouldn't be here. My story would be different. But that's also how I was able to communicate with people that was like, oh, about insurance, we'll do it later or something like that.
Yeah.
I started to
Mhm.
share that story. And it was in those moments where I had the most conviction in how important it is to have a policy. So I'm sure
100%.
as you're going through
100%.
your journey, you felt the same way, right?
100%. My son have an IUL. I have an IUL. I have a son in the military. He has an IUL. We're IUL tapped in, baby. So
Yeah,
we
for
walk.
sure.
We can't. And I'm an insurance agent myself as well, along with teaching women in insurance and finance. But the idea is we walk what we teach, right? The idea is we've been through it and having. I mean, not just IUL, but just having a financial vehicle because I had my mass mutual fund that was maxed out too when I'm in this apartment with my young son that he didn't ask for. He didn't ask for divorce,
Right.
and he didn't ask to be sick, but we become resourceful. Like you said, we're resilient creatures when we have to, go through stuff. I was just talking to someone. I said, we're built differently. We're resilient. We can't sit down and cry. I mean, we can cry, but trouble don't last always, but strong people
Yes,
do.
yes,
So.
yes. Yeah, that's so good. So, where did the transition from just being an insurance agent to like you wanting to share the message of how this impacted you that then ultimately inspired you to like wanting to see other insurance agents win and support them and creating this community for credibility to cash flow? Like, walk me through that journey.
Wow, that's a great question because when I got in an insurance space And no one ever asked me this question because, and that's what I'm saying. That's such a great question because the transition happened when I got into the insurance space. Here I am. I was doing coaching. I was dabbling coaching, business coaching. So when I got into the insurance space, the way that I was being taught to market my business. Remember, I just left a job because I didn't have enough time for my son and his health and what was needed. Then I come into the insurance space and I was hearing things that as a mom, I was hearing, hey, you need a door knock, you need to buy these expensive leads, which I already told you my credit score is 430. And then, you need to buy these leads and you need to be door knocking and you need to be cold calling. And I'm like, I felt like I traded one job for the other. I'm like,
Mm,
hold up, because as a woman in insurance or in any financial business, we don't you I hate to say this, Arturo, but the male, y'all get one side focus. We as a mom, our focus is divided. It's divided into our business, it's divided into our spouse, it's divided into our kids. So I realized, like, hold up, you can as a male dial 100 calls a day. But as me at 2:30, I have to pick up my son from school. So you have more time than I do to really have that one track mind and focus and go all the way in. I don't. So when I realized it's not that the marketing, the old school way of marketing doesn't work, it does. Let me say that. But it doesn't fit a mother, a woman. It wasn't made for us. So
mm,
seeing that, I had to say to myself, do I want to spend time selling policies, or do I really want to go all the way and focus in helping women to create a model that fits them more as a mom, fits them more as a wife, as in using the power of digital era, what we're in, right? The digital market to enroll people, to mass, to do group sale, virtual group sales to get people in. And so now you're, instead of selling one to one, you're selling one to many. So I started that
mm.
model just on the foundation of looking at a woman and looking at a mom and looking at a wife. We can still stand on that stage and win just like the next person. We're just going to be doing it in a different way, and that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. And again, they say there's multiple ways to skin a cat. There's not
Yes,
just one way. And so
correct.
based on your circumstances, right, you're building your business around your life instead of your life around your business,
Correct.
which just seems like the smart thing to do. So walk me through kind of the framework of, what you're basically helping insurance female financial service professionals to do with this credit to cash flow.
All right, I love that. So when we're doing credibility to cash flow, I want you to, the first foundation is we move away the word commission and we replace it with mission. So instead of
Mm,
chasing commission, we create your business blueprint to be a mission. What is the mission of your business? Who are you targeting? What is the one problem you're solving? Instead of trying to sell all the products, what is the one product that's your go-to product, you enjoy selling it, you want to be the queen of that, whatever that is for you.
yes.
What is your area zone of genius? That's the first thing, is to identify what that is first, because the reason why you want to identify your area of genius, even if it's not a product, because it could be an intangible thing, it could be your personality, it could be as simple as that. You want to
Hmm.
identify what that area of genius is, because the reason why we're moving away from commission, because another thing, as a woman, we are it's embedded in us that we need to make money, we need to make a commission. But if you set up your business right, you're not just going to have to make a commission, because we teach you how to sell all your expertise, so you have enough revenue come in. So there are days when your commission is high or low, it doesn't affect you, because light bill, water bill comes in every day, right, every month, right?
Hmm.
So with the first thing that we're setting up is getting clear on who your target audience is. What is the one problem that you solve? We get super clear on that. And we super clear on that, because that problem that you have a solution for is going to set up the foundation for you to generate different revenue streams within
Hmm.
that specific that specific solution. So
Mhm.
because how we're taught in insurance is only way to make money is to get downlines and get recruit people and get commission coming in. So when you can't do that, you feel like a failure. So, but what if
Mhm.
we teach you how to build your personal brand, and
Mm.
by doing that, where people like you and coming to you because they like who you are, what you stand for, that's your mission, the problem that you solve, and you use that to one in our step is to captivate your audience. What if we take your personal brand or your
That's
personality?
so
And that's
good.
what people are buying anyways, your
That's
personality.
so
So
good. I had
number
to write
one,
that down.
and we use that to captivate your audience, because people are like, well, no, people are coming to me for term life. They're coming to me for finance. No, they're not. They're coming to you because you educate them on social media about the product and service that you sell, and they love your personality. They love the message that what you are saying. So how do we teach you how to package that to captivate them? And then number two, cultivate them, right? So you're cultivating as you're nurturing them and getting them to where in a place where you can nurture them, and of course close them all at once versus trying to reach out to people one on one.
So you're using leverage one to many as opposed to one on one.
100 as a mom with a busy schedule, of course. Yes,
Awesome.
we don't do sales calls.
Yes, yes, yes. So walk me through that, because you said mission, from commission to mission, then you want to
Mhm.
cultivate them, right?
Cap
And then you want to close them.
Cultivate. Yep,
So
captivate,
there's got to
cultivate,
be
close.
some type of leverage in there, which I'm assuming social media
Mhm,
and using your personal brand. So what I've been researching and which I've been learning, because I went in on my personal brand January of last year. And when I started, I had like 900 followers on Instagram, and I got around 90,000 right now.
ooh, good
And
for you.
after going back to just like diagnose, like, man, what's happening, right? Like, what's going on here? I realized something, and I had this aha. And I learned
Mhm,
this from Myron Golden. He mentioned this guy Daniel Priestley, and it's a book called Key Person of Influence. And in this book, he makes this assertion of income follows assets. And I was like,
mhm.
I just kept hearing him saying that, and it sounds good too. So I was like, okay. And I was like, wait a minute. Okay. The asset is something that put money in your pocket, and liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. So I'm like, well, my social media, my personal brand puts money in my pockets to the tunes of hundreds of $1,000s a month. I'm like, oh, so this is an asset. And I'm
Yes.
like, assets. It's a digital asset. Most people like real estate, right? And so they like the
Mhm.
passive income of it. And you get a piece of property, you pay into it, you get equity, and it appreciates. I'm like, oh, well, if you use your social media and you increase the value by posting content on it, it'll appreciate. So now I have this digital asset that I can give myself a raise every single day if I get consistent with having something good to say, saying it often, and saying it well. I'm like, oh, this is an asset that I can use. That's a digital asset to make money off of. And I'm like, oh, I get it. And when I realized that, I went all in on personal branding. So I'm curious for you, when was the moment where the switch flipped and you went all in on the personal branding?
So, number one, I've always been about personal brand even before I got my insurance license. And I
Mhm.
figured that out when I was telling my story. I used to be labeled, you can still see hashtag the queen of live stream, and my picture would still come up because I was using live videos to tell my story.
Mhm.
But when I switched to insurance, I realized, oh my gosh, these insurance agents, they know the policy, they know the policy inside and out, but they don't know marketing. They're so
Uh-huh.
behind in marketing. So when I saw that aha moment, when I saw what these uplines, these IMO, these FMOs was telling their agents to do, and I know the women in their space was feeling like they're a failure, they're feeling like they're not meeting their quota, and it's not that they were a failure, it's not that they're meeting their quota, their integrity was getting in the way of the things that they were being told to do. So because of that, I became like the ambassador to walk. I became the ambassador. I started a group for ambitious women in insurance and finance, and that whole entire
Yes.
group was dedicated to me going live each week, teaching them on personal brand. Because I
Mm.
knew once you establish your personal brand, whether you stay in insurance or not, you will forever have people to sell to when you know how to develop your credibility. Like you will forever, let me say it again, have people to sell to.
Mm,
Whether you're selling people on a digital course, you may create a term life ebook, and you sell that ebook. I have a playbook, a life insurance playbook for $25 that I sell. That's an asset. And when your email list, that's an asset. The people in your social media group, that's an asset. When you're able to create a community or create a space where you have people who think like you, believe in your mission, and have them come to that one space, that's an asset. And I'm saying, let me go deeper. Whenever I'm hosting events and I'm asking for sponsors and all that, the first thing I ask you is, how many people on your social media? How many people on your email list? So when you take the time to do exactly what you just said, those are sellable things that you can do. You can literally sell this business when we having those things, just like you're selling your book of business and insurance. Instead of just thinking selling book of business, instead of just thinking commission, let's go ahead and 10x that and think, how can I create digital products around that with the knowledge of insurance that I need, and sell that as well. So you're becoming the Susie Orman of your own business. You're becoming the Tiffany, the budgetnista of your insurance. You're becoming that person that not just looking for commission. I had a friend, and I said to him, "Hey, if I don't want insurance and I call you on the phone, what can you sell to me?" And his words to me was nothing. As it nothing. And he's a seven-figure earner, six-figure earner, and he's been, tolling and doing the insurance space. And what happened is, if you've been doing it for a while, you get burned out. And I said to him, start creating digital asset around yourself, around your personal brand that you can sell. So the days when you can't write a policy, or the days when you not have to deal with downline, you still have money coming in. Because truth of the matter is, it's great to have, downlines and all that stuff, but then you're dealing with chargebacks and all this stuff. But you got to figure out, if I'm not writing a policy, if I'm not recruiting, can I still make money? And for me and my clients, the answer is yes. One of my clients just hosted a conference and made 74,000 at her conference. Another one had a brunch and hit $21,000 using our mass enrollment strategy, using our virtual group sales strategy. So we know this strategy work, but we're big on really focusing on more on building a brand that is about you and creating digital products around it that sell. We call that silent money or silent
yeah.
coins. you know,
Yeah, for sure.
so they're not just worrying about
100%.
the commission.
Yeah, and the thing about a personal brand is this is such a important asset that I want insurance agents to know and understand. For those who are like, "Oh, I hate social media," or "I don't like social media." This is a tool so that you can take this anywhere. It's recession proof, pandemic proof, it's everything proof, because whether you're in insurance, solar, real estate, or whatever, when you have this platform that's established your credibility, you can turn it into cash flow easily, because you have a community of people that already know, like, and trust you as an expert in whatever it is that you're doing. And for the insurance agent that is like, "Oh, well, I don't want to get on camera," or they got some mind blocks about that, I'm curious to know, when you were first starting out, were you worried about showing up on camera, what people are going to think about you, how your background look, what your hair look like all of those things? Because that's a lot of what holds people back from getting on social media.
So let's dive even deeper. The principle, right? A principle is something that doesn't lie, right? So the principle of it, there's only three ways to generate leads. There is
Mm,
either you're gonna build, are you going to buy, or are you going to borrow, right? So you're going to build as in you're getting on social media and you're creating value and you're doing a call to action that will build, that give them to come to your email list. So you're building your credibility, you're building your leads right there. Borrow is what you and I are doing right now. We're collaborating. Your people are going to see my stuff and they may come over to me. That's called borrowing, right? You're going to somebody else's space that already have audience and you're borrowing their audience. And buy is pretty much you're buying leads. That's kind of self-explanatory. So those are the only three ways. Those are the only three ways. So if you don't have the money or the capacity to buy, right? You don't have the money to buy, and you're not connected with high level people like yourself. If they're not connected with you, they don't have a choice but to build, right? They don't have a choice but to bill. So whether we are in our feelings about getting on camera or not, the idea is if you want to be successful and want to make money faster, because that's another thing I teach. Faster. It's not just about making your first seven figures, it's about making it faster. The only way after that is to be able to build your audience. And the fastest way to build your audience nowadays is video. Like I is literally video. So my clients, if it's there's no, because let me even go extra lower, deeper on this. If my clients or anyone who I serve or anyone in my community have a problem with camera, that's an internal issue that has to be addressed. That has nothing to do with generating leads or not being able to market because I'm shy on camera. There's some internal child trauma that has happened about how you think people perceive you, that we have to acknowledge first and then heal from that. Because let's be honest, how many things are how far would we be if we were able to be have the confidence that we need to have, right? How much opportunities are we missing out on just because we're not confident enough to do the things that God called us to do? If we
Right.
just take a second to understand that, that is the most powerful thing ever. Like your confidence is not knowing, it's not strategy, it's not education. Your confidence is stopping you from living the life that you desire. You're
Mm.
not the lack thereof is what's stopping you. So when you realize that you need to get out your own way because somebody who's attached to your greatness, and I always say this, there are too many people that's attached to your anointing for you not to be birthed in your anointing.
Right. Exactly. And I think one of the things that people don't really realize, as you saying their anointing, is we go through education and we go through having to go through the school system where it's like somebody's always leading us, which is art. We don't, and what happens is we don't use our intuition at that moment. Sit down here, the everything that you need to know is going to be in this book, and I'm the one that's going to teach you, right? And so then this person is on this pedestal that the only way that you can get this result is with them through their knowledge. And it's not that that isn't true. It's what that tells you is not to trust your own creativity, not to trust your own instinct and your own tuition. And when you don't use your own creativity, like that's your God likeness, right? God
Yes.
is what the first thing he did was he created, and then he created us. So the first thing that he teaches us is that he is creative and it's in his nature to create. And if we're like him, then it also is in us to use our creativity. And again, everything that we have, this TV, this couch, the design that you have back there, it was in somebody's mind first.
Yep.
It was created in somebody's mind first before it became a reality. And the
Yep.
moment that you realize that you have the power to create the life and design it exactly the way you want it is the moment that you wake up and you're like, oh, this isn't the life that I designed or created. I've been going along with someone else's program. And the moment that you realize that this is what's holding you back is because you're not trusting and and having confidence in your own ability. And that's an internal belief 100%, which is so good.
Can I even, if is it okay if I just echo more what you just said?
Come on.
Uh, because and in order, if you want to be more clear and more confident and more consistent, because let's be clear, you're not consistent because you're not confident. You're not confident because you're not clear. If you want to be more clear, I believe you have to get in rooms with people who exude those confidence. And usually those rooms are investment rooms, right? You have to invest in coaching, invest in, so because you have no matrix to go by if you're not in that space. So you don't even know what the right or the wrong thing to do because you don't have a measure system to be able to do that. And one thing I am blessed with being on camera for so long, I'm always speaking, always not just camera, but what gives me the art of communication. The more you're on camera speaking, the more you master communication. That means you become a better speaker, which means you also sell more because we know the highest value is the value of communication. You and I have
Yes.
learned that through Myron. So
Yes.
knowing that the highest level is communication, And because once your imagination, like you just said, think of something, we can communicate out to the masses, and it becomes a sale. Now,
Yes.
the story that we tell ourselves, because all it is a story, right? What I
Hmm.
don't look right, and my weight, and what am I going to say? I don't know everything. I'm not knowledgeable, whatever it may be, because I was on camera talking about insurance before I even know the whole thing of insurance. I would learn something today, and I will go on camera and share what I read or what I know. There's a book called The $1 Million Financial Service Practice, and that I would learn something from the book, and I would share it with my people when I first started. So there's no, so the as the story that we're telling ourselves, we have to recreate a new story, because the story that we're telling ourselves is what's holding us back, because the reality, we are making up stories that don't need to be. And if we really want to call to be great, if you're going to be called to be great, you have to create opportunities for people to hear your story, hear your message, because the Bible said the sheep hear your voice, and to a stranger they will not go. So unless they're hearing your voice and getting familiar with your voice, and you become findable, you're not serving the people you're called to serve. That's the only way. The people will be like, oh, I know this girl, that's Sherry, she got an accent, she's from Jamaica, I know her. So when I go to a live event, I'm like, hey, I listen to you on YouTube all the time. So everyone, and that's because I'm putting my voice out there so they can become familiar with the voice. Again, because your sheep will hear your voice, and to a stranger they will not go. So when they hear
Yes.
your voice, there is your clients, they're going to be your target market, and you never have to worry about sales, because guess what? They like, know, and trust you just from hearing your voice.
Yes, yes, yes. That's so good.
Yes. Yes.
Can you, for those that are taking notes, can you run through those three C's again? Confidence. What was it?
Sure. Sure. So if you want to, you have to first, if you're not consistent because you're not confident, you're not confident because you're not clear. Once you get clear,
Mm.
you get confident. Once you get confident, you become consistent. Right?
Yes,
So
yes,
if you're not
yes.
clear enough next, once you know what the clarity on what the step is, and clarity, 90% clarity is not, is, do I do step one, then do step two, and let's do step three? No, that's not the clarity I'm talking about. I'm talking about the clarity of having the perspective to think in a different way. So let's say
Mm.
somebody, you just said, let's use what you just said. Somebody's afraid of being on camera to speak about the knowledge that they know, so somebody else in front of the camera can hear and say, "Oh, she's talking to me. I need insurance. I need term life. I need whole life." That person right there, whatever the excuses you're using, you need to shift your perspective. When you and I coach and invest in coaching, Arturo, we our perspective got changed, and then
Mm.
we became confident. Right? We're
Yes.
like, why do we think this way? Then somebody who is at a higher vibration, higher thinking level, taught us to think in another way, not from where school has taught us. And then because we became clear on our thoughts, that's it. Then we're confident now, because we are clear on our thoughts. We're clear on, why am I thinking this way? Why am I having these type of thoughts that does not serve me? Once we get clear on our thoughts, not clear on step one, step two, because reality is YouTube University is going to teach you the strategy. It's
Yes.
not you not getting clear on your identity of who you are. And the identity of who you are, it says that you are God's masterpiece. Do you know what a masterpiece is? And if you believe that you're God's masterpiece, there's nothing you should be afraid of doing. So we're not believing in the perspective of who we say we are. Once there has to be a higher vibration that come in and shift the way you think, and you're like, oh, I was thinking this way, because your job as a sales agent is to shift the perspective of the person you're talking to a we call this a Trojan horse. Like
So
your
good.
the Trojan horse is, when they meet you, they were thinking in this way, and then based on interacting with you, then they're now thinking in another way that give them clarity to take action.
Yes, that's so good. And again, one of the things that's so powerful about mentorship is instead of just going in and just wanting the tactical stuff, the things that you want to actually take heed to and borrow is the way they think and their belief system, which is so powerful, which is what
100%.
you actually end up getting when you're getting in these rooms. So if somebody's watching this video, which is going to go out to over 140,000 insurance agents, and they want to adopt your thinking and your belief system, where can they find you?
Awesome. So they can simply go to join Sherry, and Sherry's SHERRI.com. JoinSherry.com. Very simple. We have a group that website will they can opt in, and that will send them on our email list, which will take them to our group on Facebook. And we have a challenge, a 5-day challenge every month, teaching women in insurance and finance how to build their credibility and cash flow. Matter of fact, I don't know when you're putting this out, but we have one starting on Monday. So
Yes, 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 for sure. Well, these conversations are always amazing, and I know you're helping women take over the world, especially as this is the month for women. We're supporting women, so this is
yes.
just coming at the right time too.
Oh, yes.
Um, I know we covered a lot, but is there any last message that you want to share and leave with people as we kind of wrap and conclude this one up? Because this one's been fire.
Yes, I think first of all, thank you so much for having me and creating this platform and space for women like myself to echo our voice, because as we don't have enough representation in the insurance space. This is a
Mm.
male dominated space. So anytime a male open up his space for women to come on the platform, I really thank you, and I'm humble and honored for you doing that. We need more of this. We need more of these voices. I mean, if you go to conferences and events when it comes to insurance and finance, it will be all male and maybe a one or two female. So we really thank you for even giving me this opportunity. But what I want to leave here is whenever you're growing your business in the insurance space, take the insurance out of it for a second, but performing as you as a human being. I'm talking to the women right now. You as a human being, understand that greatness is not built in isolation. So if greatness is not built in isolation, that means if there's something within you that you need to birth, is because that thing, that seed is to help somebody else. So it's not even for you. So it'd be selfish for us to contain that seed. If I have the cure for cancer, I want everyone to know. So it's important that we understand that it is our right to go out and act according into our genius. It's our right to stay in our lane and press gas, because greatness is not built in isolation.
So good. And it's your girl Summers Bell right there. So if you want more gems, more wisdom, make sure you give her a follow on Instagram at it's Sherry Summers as well. Follow her on YouTube. And then one more time, what's the link again that they can go to if they want to join your community?
Very good. JoinSherry.com. SHERRI. JoinSherry.com.
Well, guys, this definitely been a banger. You're probably going to have to go back, watch this, and take some more notes. Sherry, thanks again for hopping on the brand blueprint. We'll see you in the next one.
I love it. Thank you.